Hey everyone, welcome back to World of Tanks. Except I'm not really gonna show you a game today. What I've been working on is my list of tier 10 tanks from good to bad. The thing I was gonna do was I was gonna find the worst tier 10 tanks in every class. Light tanks, medium tanks, heavy tanks, tank destroyers, and then feature the best replays from the worst tanks. However, the new patch 1.10 released today, or actually yesterday. So these old replays won't work on my client unless I find a way to roll it back. And there aren't that many new replays out for the new patch. So that's gonna have to wait until about a month or so. In the meantime, I did make a list from the best and the worst tanks from patch 1.9.1. And here it is. Now, first, I'm gonna tell you how I did it and why I think it's. I'm not gonna say it's definitely the best way to do it, but I don't think it's the worst way. Now, what many people do is they look at the list of averages. Like here, you can see, for instance, top damage, and these are mostly tier 10 tanks. And of course, you have the reward tanks at the top, like the 279E and the T95 Chieftain. These tanks are very hard to get, so only good players have them. And that skews the averages quite a bit. So that I'm not gonna say they are not overpowered, because my results show that they kind of are, but it's not like extremely much more than it's not that much more, to put it that way. Also, there's such a thing as, you have what's known as a skill ceiling and a skill floor. A skill ceiling is how far a good player can push a tank. Like, if a tank has a very high skill ceiling, a good player can do very, very well in it. A skill floor is like, even a mediocre or bad player, if it has a decently high skill floor, they're not going to do too terribly in it. So a tank can have a very high skill ceiling and be totally broken in the hands of a good player, but if it has a low skill floor, it means it's probably hard for someone who's not that knowledgeable of game mechanics to get much out of it. Which means that it might not have the highest averages, even if it is a overpowered tank. For instance, the old Hellcat at tier 6. Not that easy of a tank to play if you are a new player and you don't know about push mechanics and all that stuff, and if you don't have a good crew. So if you're just grinding through it to get to the higher tiers, you're not going to do well in it, probably. But if you were a very good player, you would do very well in it. Well, it's been nerfed now, so it's not that bad anymore. But it used to be very broken in the hands of good players, so they would just stat pad in it, padding their WN8 and stuff. And it was only when lots of good players started gravitating towards it to pad their stats that the averages went through the roof, so to speak. On the other hand, you can have a tank that is, tanks that are very forgiving with lots of armor and stuff. A mediocre or bad player will do reasonably well in it. Not fantastic, but the averages won't ever go that low, even if maybe it also has a low skill ceiling, so a good player can't really get much out of it. Now, in my opinion, tanks should be balanced after their potential, not their averages. So, how do we find the potential? Well, you go to somewhere like wotreplays, and you sort by. I sorted by experience. You can also sort by damage and kills and assists and all sorts of stuff. And then you can find the best tank. Let's see. For instance, here you sort by light tanks and show. That's not a light tank. What am I doing? What am I? Ah. I managed to misclick even. Yeah, light tank and tier 10 and why do I keep misclicking here? This isn't so hard. It's because I still have that one selected. Now. Alright, so you can see light tanks, lots of EBRs, and a YouTuber known as Klaus Kellerman, you can see him here, already does a video series of most OP tanks at certain tiers. But how do you find the least OP tanks using a similar method? Well, you go full autism. I don't have autism, but let's pretend I do. And you go through every single tank like here. So, AMX 13105, highest result in base experience, 1518. Now what I did was I added all these results together in the calculator, divided by 10, and I got the average for the 10 best games in the AMX 13105. It's 105, not 104. That's a typo. Gotta fix that. And I did that with the other light tanks. And, well, here you can see the averages for the 10 best games in everyone. Unsurprisingly, EBR 105 is at the top. It had the highest single result at 1992 base experience, and average from the 10 best games at 1730. Worst one was the WC132-1, which only had 5 ace tanker games. You see, these are all ace tankers here. So I just did those 5 and divided by 5 instead of 10. And yeah, it's by far the worst one, going by this method. And well, if you look at its stats here, let's see, what do they say are the strengths of this tank? Okay, it supposedly has good armor. That's not that important for a light tank. Can play hull down effectively on flat ground, but it has bad gun depression, so that's kind of worthless. And yeah, by just looking at it, not surprising that this was the worst one. And the fact that it only had 5 ace tanker results uploaded to the What Replay page means that I don't think many good players play this tank. At least they don't upload games of it. I don't think it's very much played at all, because I don't see it very often in game. So if I was gonna do those videos I talked about, I would feature the best replays from this tank, the worst tier 10 light tank. Second worst is kind of surprising, it's the Sheridan. I would think the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen would be worse, but it's a tiny bit better by 1. And then you have the Manticore, which I thought would be the second worst, or actually even worst. It's a little bit better than that. And the AMX 13105, the French autoloader, pretty good. Russian T100 light tank, also very good. None of them even comes close to the EBR 105. Everyone knows that it's broken, it's terrible, it's a bad thing to have in game. Luckily, it's been nerfed in the latest patch. Haven't played much in the latest patch yet, but I'm happy that it's been nerfed. Also, the new patch included what they call Equipment 2.0. It's going to be exciting to see what that means when I revisit all these numbers in a month. Anyway, so yeah, WC1321, that's the worst tier 10 light tank. Medium tanks. Quite a lot of medium tanks at tier 10 in this game. 19 in total. The worst one is the 121. Second worst one is the AMX 30B. And then you have the E50M. That's not too surprising. Its supposed strength is the armor, but the armor isn't really that good. You have a decently strong front hull armor upper plate, but the turret is kind of soft, and it's like the tank is like a big square box. And yeah, it's not that good. Then you have the 121B. It's basically the 121, but with a different gun. Moving up to number 15 is the K91, the rear turret Russian one. I guess it's kind of... I haven't seen it much. I haven't played it. I guess it's kind of awkward. Then you have the T62A, one of the original tier 10 medium tanks. Kind of been power crept. Could probably need a buff after all the other worst tanks have been buffed, of course. At number 13, you have the T95E6. That's a reward tank. It has a big tumor on top. Weak point. Ugh, misclick again. Number 12, Object 140. Wouldn't say it's OP, but it's pretty good in certain situations. It's used a lot in Clan Wars because it has like good DPM and speed and stuff. But these are all random battle results, or mostly random battle results. And at number 11, M60. Also used to be a reward tank, now you can buy it for bonds. It's basically an M48 pattern that has not received as many buffs. Well, I wouldn't say the pattern has received direct buffs, but it's like the armor model has been changed when it moved over to HD and stuff. It's quite bouncy. Number 10, I would have guessed it would be higher, but the Leopard 1. Number 9, Centurion Action X. It had 3 very good results at the top, but the rest of the results were not as good as, like, if you cluster, like, there's a mathematical word for it, I don't remember it, but like the mean results were not as good as the mean results for the Leopard 1. But the averages slightly edged it out. I was surprised by that. I would have thought it would be much lower. It's not a very popular tank in like organized play and stuff. Anyway, number 8, M48 Patton. It's a pretty good tank. Not surprising that it would be in the upper half. Number 7, Bat Chat. Although, as you can see, I wrote down some notes here. Top results were lots of spotting. Some of them were a little bit suspicious. You had like half of the enemy team doing 0 damage, so possibly that was like an issue with half the team disconnecting, which I've heard happens sometimes. I haven't experienced it, but it could be. I didn't actually watch all of the replays. That would have taken ages. Number 6, the Czech TVP T50-51. Number 5, Udes 1516. Number 4, Progetto 65. It's supposed to have received a nerf in this latest patch, although much of the nerf was the removal of the gun rammer, and with the new equipment, some of which is, you could, I think you could make it work even without a gun rammer. I guess we will have to see in about a month when I revisit this. 430U at number 3, also to be nerfed, although the nerf was not that substantial. Number 2, Reward Tank 907. You get it from Clan Wars. 7 out of 10 results were above 1600 base experience. And at number 1, which actually was kind of surprising. I knew it was good, but I didn't know it was gonna edge out the 430U and the 907 stuff. But the Japanese STB-1, all 10 results were over 1600. Top result 1917. That's pretty solid. All right, let's move over to heavy tanks. Let's see, 22 of them. FV215B. It used to be the Tech Tree Tier 10 British heavy tank until it was replaced by the Super Conqueror. I think you can still get it, like with bonds and stuff, but it's not a very common tank. And yeah, the results speak for themselves. It's by far the lowest tank using this method, or not by far, but it's the lowest. So if it stays that way, maybe you'll see a replay of it in about a month. At number 21, AMX M454, French Tier 10. Don't see them very often, never played one. They have good, strong frontal armor, decent gun, but I think that's it. Number 20, IS-4 received substantial buffs in the latest patch, so it will probably be much higher. And number 19, my personal favorite bad tank, the Panzerkampfwagen 7, has not received any buffs. It probably should. Number 18, T10E5 has received substantial buffs, at least to its DPM. Still has that big weak point tumor on top of the turret. I don't think that's a big problem. I think most tanks... The problem is rather that so many tanks don't have weak points that you can hit from the front. Number 17, 113. Used to be the Tech Tree Tier 10 Chinese heavy tank. You can still get it as a like a collector tank. But yeah, not that good. Number 16 is, where is it? Here it is, ST2, the double barrel Russian tier 10. Kind of a meme thing to have two guns. I don't think they are that good, those double barreled tanks. Number 15, Type 5, big Japanese bento box tank. Yeah, it's, well, whatever. Number 14, 705A. I have that one. It's kind of good in some situations. Top results were not that impressive. Number 13, E100, also received buffs to its turret frontal armor, and it received a substantial buff to the 128mm gun, which might now be better than the 150mm gun that it also had. I guess I will have to see. I can't wait to play that one and the E5. Both used to be some of my favorite tier 10 tanks. They had been left behind by power creep and some nerfs to the E5. I guess now they might be good again. So I'm gonna play those this the next few days. That's gonna be fun. Number 12, WC 111 5A. Pretty like in the middle. It's a decent heavy tank. Number 11, T57 American autoloader. Number 10 is here. That's the VK7201K. Pretty much a Panzer 7 with a 150mm gun, and its cheek weak points are not quite as weak. Number 9, 277, very often used in clan wars. It's a decent, fast, heavy tank. Number 8, Maus. Did not expect to see it that far up the list. Number 7, 60 TP, Polish tier 10. Number 6, IS-7. Number 5, Kranvagn. Did not expect to see it that far up the list. Number 4, Object 260. That's the one you get from the first campaign after the 4th mission pack. Number 3, I expected this to be at the top. That's the Object 279. You get it from the second campaign. Almost invulnerable from the front. Yeah, surprised it wasn't number 1. Number 2, Super Conqueror. Regular Tech 3 British tier 10 heavy tank. Better than some of the reward tanks. Imagine that. And of course, number 1, the T95 Chieftain. Like, average of 17, 21. That's almost as high as the average for the EBR 105. Top result, 1816. AMX 50B actually had the highest top result of the heavy tanks, but averages weren't that high. So yeah, best one, Chieftain. Worst one, 215B. Worst one that's available in the tech tree is the AMX M454. Tank destroyers. Alright. Let's go from bad to good again. You have 13 tank destroyers. WZ-113GFT. That's a mouthful. Chinese tier 10 tank destroyer. Only 9 ace tanker results uploaded. So I did those and divided by 9. Got an average of 1120. Top result was 1223. don't think I've seen many of them in game. Number 12, Foch 155. I don't think it's available in the tech tree anymore. Don't see him around very often. Evidently not that good. Number 11, Object 268. It's been superseded by a different object. We'll get to that one later. Number 10, Grille 15. Supposedly a very good sniper, except that it's not. That's why it's so bad. Number 9, would have expected it to be higher. The FV215B183. There's, the big British derp gun tank destroyer. There's a different British big derp gun tank destroyer. Get to that one later. Number 8, Badger, British heavily armored casemate tank destroyer. Fast firing, accurate gun. Decent. Number 7, I would have expected this to be like at the bottom. Jagdpanzer E100. I guess it's decent if you here's like the weakness of my way of doing this. If you have tanks that are kind of RNG dependent, like the Jagdpanzer, like the 183, if RNG says smiles on you, you're gonna have a pretty good game. And because I'm only going by the pretty good games, these tanks might be higher on my list than they should have been. But, no method is perfect. Number 6, T10E4. Semi-turreted American Tier 10 tank destroyer. Number 5, FV4005. That's the other British derp gun tank destroyer. The shit barn, as it's called, with its virtually unarmored turret and derpy RNG dependent gun. Number 4, AMX 50 Foch B. That's the current tech tree French Tier 10 tank destroyer. Number 3, Stridsvagn 103B. Not surprising that it would be high on the list. It's meta, as it's called. Different meta tank, also not surprising that it would be high on the list. T10E3. And of course, at number 1, the Object 268 version 4. Average of the 10 best results was 1530. The top result was 1706, so that's the best one. And the one that no one plays is the worst one. That's not too surprising. Artillery. Here's when I had to change my filters and go for only pub games, because the top results were all Clan Wars, especially for the Conch GC, which is used a lot in Clan Wars. One thing you might notice is not that much of a difference. These are all around 1200 plus minus. Worst one is the Batchat 15558. Not that surprising. Second worst one, surprisingly, was the Conch GC. But it has some very specific strengths that you want in Clan Wars. So that's why it's popular in that game mode. Not that impressive in pubs. Number 3, GW E100. Would have thought it would have been at the bottom, but as I said, not that much of a difference. Number 2, T92, and number 1, the Russian Object 261. Yeah, Arty seems to be pretty well balanced. like compared to the other RDs. It's still shit. So yeah, in about a month, I'm gonna revisit all these numbers, including the new Polish tier 10 medium tank, which will have been introduced with the latest patch. It's gonna be exciting to see if the EBR 105 is still up top. In addition to its nerfs, you have some new vision equipment with the equipment 2.0 edition. Might make some of these other light tanks more viable. I hope so. I really hope so. That would be great if actual light tanks would have a purpose in the game again. Medium tanks. This is gonna be exciting. Is this one still gonna be good? Even without the gun rammer? Will it be able to make effective use out of the other new pieces of equipment? Is this one still gonna be shit? Probably. Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. My old favorites, hopefully higher on the list after the buff. Same for the IS-4, even though I don't drive that one. I suspect this one will still be King of the Hill, together with the other top dogs. But maybe, we'll see. Some of the new equipment introduced in the game will make it easier to either like buff the strengths of your tank, or to minimize the weaknesses. Like if you have a very slow tank, there's a new turbocharger, then you can put on it, make it a little bit faster, make it traverse better. That's also a thing you can put on. And yeah, it's gonna be exciting. Tank destroyers, yeah. Maybe, nah, I think this one will still be at the bottom. And probably this one will still be at the top, because they have not announced any nerfs for it. Yeah, I will see you in about a month, and we're gonna take another look at these tanks, and you know how they behave in the latest patch. I will see you again then, hopefully with some replays to share and not just staring at an Excel sheet. Actually, it's not even Excel, it's OpenOffice. So that might be more exciting. Goodbye and take care.